Hello, all my crafty friends. It is Thursday and time for this week's weekly card class. It has been a little while since I showed my face on here, so I thought I would say hi and then we'll flip down and do our cards. But if you are new to watching me on Facebook or if you're joining on YouTube and you haven't watched before, my name is Rachel Trout and I have been a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator for almost 12 years. And every Thursday I go live on my Facebook page and do a free card class that anyone can watch. And so if you are here, thank you for being here, and I would love it if you would say hi and let me know that you're watching so that I can say hi back. So every week we make 3 cards and I offer those cards as a card kit. So you can watch, you can copy the cards. I usually try and give all the measurements during the video. But if you would like the card kit for the cards sent to you, then you can make a purchase with me in my online store now through Tuesday. And if you spend more than $40 before tax and shipping, I will send you the card kit. And if you spend more than $50, I double the cards, so you get to make 2 of each. So you will see when I flip the camera down, I organize everything in envelopes. And what I dump out of those envelopes today, that's exactly what you're going to get in your card kit. So everything's die cut and cut for you. You have to supply your own stamps, inks, and adhesives because it would be hard for me to ship those things to you, and I cannot include stamped images. So today's cards are really easy to substitute. It is mostly sentiments, and then 1 little texture stamp and 1 flower stamp. So, you know, you can pull out stamps from your stash if you want and create these cards using things you already have, or you can add this bundle to your order. And I think you are going to love the dies. That is really what sold me on this bundle. So should we flip the camera down and take a look at our suite today? Now I will warn you, me flipping the camera is a little bit of a chore. I don't have one of those fancy things that just like flips down and is automatic. So I need to work with my holder just a little bit. So hopefully it won't be too choppy. I've done this with my team in my videos there a few times to give myself practice, but I am no expert. So let's take it out of the holder and see if I can get it flipped. Let's see here. Okay. That part is the easy part. Now I have to get it back in my holder, and we have to adjust and not be too wiggly. So let's see if we can do that here. Oh, that was not too bad. I guess practice pays off, right? That is true about most things in life. Okay, so I told you about the card kit. I also like to give away the cards that I make every week, and I like to send cards. I'm trying to get better at that because for sure I make a ton of cards, and you can bet I have boxes and boxes of cards. So I'm trying to get better about sending them. So the cards I make today I like to send to people who comment on the video and like the video and share it with their friends. So if you're here, say hi and interact. If you're watching later, say hi and interact. And I'll draw winners probably about on Monday or Tuesday next week and send the cards that I make today to 3 of you. So thank you for your interaction. I love to see that you're here, and I love when people are watching and chatting with me. All right, today we are going to be using products from the Wildly Flowering Suite collection. This is in our big annual catalog, and it is a really pretty bundle. The paper and the dies are really what sold me on this suite. So like all of our bundles, Stampin' Up! Gives a 10% discount if you buy the stamps and the dies together. So a lot of times I cannot resist and I say, well, I got to save that 10%. So I might as well get the stamp set too, or I might as well get the dies too. In this case, I really, really wanted these label dies, just these 3 right here. Those are the ones I was in love with. But I thought, you know what? There's these other dies in here. I'm going to get 10% off. I might as well just get the bundle. So I did, and I like it. But the dies are really what sold me on it. So pretty simple stamp set. You've got a few nice sentiments here and some nice stamps too. And then this suite also includes this beautiful Wildly Flowering Designer Series paper. This is a 12 by 12 Designer Series paper, and you can see the coordinating colors here. We have Crumb Cake, Early Espresso, Misty Moonlight, Moody Mauve, Mossy Meadow, and Wild Wheat. So the reason that I picked this suite to feature right now is because some of these colors kind of remind me of fall. And so I thought now's the perfect time to pull out this paper and pull out this set and use it. So lots of pretty floral designs, and I think I've said this a couple times recently, Wild Wheat, not my favorite color, but for fall, I'm finding it is a really nice color. So we also have these textured adhesive back dots. I almost got it right. Adhesive back textured dots. So these are just kind of a neutral, I don't know what color you would call this. It's metallic. And they do have some texture. I don't know if you can see that. And so these are really great for any project because since they're neutral, they match everything. And then there's also an embossing folder in this suite. And oh, I should have written down the name. You guys, I'm so terrible with the product names. If you watched me yesterday with Paper Pumpkin, I think I was having trouble with something, the name of something then too. I used to remember all the names, but as I get older, I am not so good at remembering them. But this one is a nice, kind of subtle texture for backgrounds. I did not use it on any of our cards today, but I will show you at the end. I used this bundle for my card club this month, and I did use it on one of those cards. So I'll show you what that looks like embossed when we get there. Okay, let's move this out of the way. And I'm going to pull in the 3 cards that we will be making today so you can see them. I shared a sneak peek yesterday on my social media if you were watching. And these cards are pretty simple, but I think they are layouts you can copy with other papers. You can even do different papers in the same collection. So you can mix and match and choose whatever papers you'd like if you're copying these cards at home. And I'm going to let you in on a little secret. This card right here, I actually copied from myself. So I'll show you at the end my card club cards. One of them is exactly like this, just different patterns of the paper and different colors. So it's okay to copy from yourself. It's a great place to find inspiration, right? Okay, we're going to start with this card. And you know what? I added this twine under here after, so it keeps popping up on me because I had to pull it back up to add that. And I added a second dimensional to hold it in place, and it's not working. But our second card that we make today will be perfect. So, like I said, if you order and get the card kit, everything's going to come to you organized into envelopes, just like this one. And then you can dump all of your pieces out, and everything will be ready for you. So on this card, we're using a couple of different products that I've pulled in. This is a different embossing folder. It is one of my favorites. It's called the Distressed Tile Embossing Folder. And it's really, really pretty. I love this one. And I think it fits really well with this suite. So I pulled it in for this card. And then I've punched out with out of the Designer Series paper. This is our Modern Oval Punch. This is has been a really popular punch, and I think it's because it's such a basic shape. You can fit lots of sentiments in here, or you can do like what we're doing on this card today, and you can use it as a shape of interest in the background of your card. So let me give you a few tips on that too as we get going here. For this one, I have a Misty Moonlight card base, so I'm just pulling colors out of the Designer Series paper, which is awesome. The coordination with Stampin Up, you can just use the colors they tell you to use and it'll look good. So this is 5.5 by 8.5. It's a regular card size, and then I fold it in half. And then this piece is Crumb Cake, and this is 5.25 by 4. And then again, I've embossed it with the Distressed Tile Embossing Folder. If you are recreating these cards at home, you could use any embossing folder that you want. You could use the one that comes in the suite, anything with kind of a subtle texture for the background. So I'm going to adhere that to my card base. And then my tip with these, so I've cut 3 of them, and again, you could use any patterns of the designer series paper that you wanted. If you wanted to use more of the wild wheat patterns, you could do that. If you wanted to use more pink than I used, if you wanted to use the back sides, you could, totally up to you. Your other options with this are you can do your layout a little bit differently. You could put them across the middle like this and do kind of a landscape card. Put your sentiment here, you can put it here. You can offset these a little bit, so you could go like this. And again, you can move your sentiment wherever. I kind of like it in the middle, but you could go farther up here or down here. There are lots and lots of options with this, with these shapes. So if you are getting the card kit or making this card at home, feel free to experiment and be creative because there are lots of different options. So I'm just going to lay these down flat. If you want to give your card a little more dimension, you could pop them up with dimensionals, but that's totally up to you. Hi, Laura. Welcome. I am glad someone is finding me live today. I was on time for once, so maybe if you regularly watch me, you know that is not always the case, and sometimes I am a few minutes late. But today I was on time and prepared. Okay, so with these sizes, you will not have a whole lot of room in between your shapes. So if you want, sometimes if I do 3 shapes like this, I glue the top and the bottom one first, and then you can center that middle one. You can also use your grid paper or the grids on your glass mat to line it up perfectly. I wasn't that fussy this time, so it's fine however you do it. Okay, this little label I have cut with our Countryside Corners dies, and we're going to stamp our sentiment in Misty Moonlight ink to kind of match our cardstock. Now, if you chose different patterns of the designer series paper, or you are using a different paper, just choose a color that coordinates with your paper. So there we go. Now, there is not a ribbon in this sweet collection, but there's a couple that go really well, and we're going to use 2 different ones today. So the first is this jute trim that comes in the in colors. So the Wild Wheat and the Moody Mauve are colors that are in the designer series paper. And even though the boho blue is not an exact match, it works pretty well with the Misty Moonlight. So this is an awesome choice. Even this Pebbled Path, I think, would coordinate pretty well with the paper, even though it's not an exact match. So this is one option if you are looking for a ribbon to match this suite. The other one that we're going to use on our 3rd card is our basic beige bordered ribbon. Again, this is not a color that is in the designer series paper, but I think it's neutral and it goes really well. So that's another option if you're looking for ribbons that would go with this suite. Okay, so this jute trim, I actually like it better when I pull it apart. It's a little thick for my taste, but you can use a whole piece. What I'm going to do is I cut a piece that's about big enough for a bow, and you can just pull some of the threads out, and I'm actually just going to use 1 for this card. And we want it to go behind our sentiment. And here's a little trick. Some people like to do like loops and stuff, and I always have trouble getting those to stay right where I want them. But if you're using something thin enough, like a twine or just this 1 thread, if you tie a bow, it's still going to fit under there without too much bulk, and then you'll get your loops and everything, and you won't have to worry about it moving on you and getting out of place. And then I like to use a mini glue dot so that I can stick it there, and again, it's not going to move out of place while I attach my sentiment. And then you'll want to do your sentiment with some dimensionals so that it will be over that twine or ribbon. Now with ribbon, this might not work because that's a little bit bulkier, and you're going to probably get too much dimension with the knot, but with a twine it works pretty well. And then you can trim your ends to be as long or as short as you'd like. So like that. And then of course we have to add our embellishment. So I'm going to get my take your pick tool here, and we will just add a few of these textured dots. Now on this embossing folder, these tiles kind of have like centers. So if I'm using that in my background, I like to put my embellishment in the centers of those, but you don't have to. That's just what I like to do. So there we go. There is our first card. And this layout you can copy with any designer series papers. And it's kind of fun. You could also use our hexagon punch for the same kind of idea. So if you have that one, that's another idea for you. Okay, I'm going to stick this one in an envelope, and remember, I'm going to draw winners from the comments. So this one is all ready to send. Okay, our second card, this one is my favorite. Now I said I was going to wait to the end to show you the one from my card club, but I'll show it to you now. So this is a card from my card club, and I just decided I really like this design, so I'm going to copy myself and just use different colors. So that's what I did. And this uses a lot of dies from the set, so I thought that was a good way to show them off. And these colors are just really pretty. I like the Moody Mauve with the Early Espresso and the Crumb Cake. So for this one, we have a Moody Mauve card base. It's 5.5 by 8.5. We'll fold that in half, and this card's going to be landscape. And then I have a piece of the designer series paper, and this just kind of looks like linen to me, but it's the Crumb Cake. And then you have this little texture stamp in the stamp set. So we are going to use that and just add a little bit of texture in the corners with Crumb Cake ink. So it's kind of stamping like color on color. And that's just a subtle way to add a little something extra to your card. So I'm just going to stamp a few in each corner. And you can turn it just a little bit so that it doesn't look like you just stamped a bunch all in a row. So like that. And then we can attach that piece to our card base. Like this. Okay, so now let me show you these die cut pieces. So this is interesting. I'm going to pull the dies back into to show you. So this large die right here is actually going to cut out two pieces. It cuts out this large centerpiece, and then it also cuts out a frame. So you can use them together or you can use them separate. And what I did is I cut it once out of the Early Espresso cardstock and then once out of the designer series paper, and then I nested that middle part inside of the frame. So like I said, you can just use one part of it. You could just use the frame. You could use just the center part. Oh, and the other thing that's neat is you can also kind of stack these together. So let's say you wanted to use these other dies kind of fit inside of each other. So if you want a card that is really, really layered, you can add more die cuts and really make yourself a fancy little card. Okay, hello Joan, welcome. Okay, I have found the easiest way to attach this is with liquid glue, but it does not look like I brought my liquid glue in here. So backup plan, we are going to attach these at the same time. So normally what I would do is put liquid glue on the frame and then attach that middle part with Stampin' Seal. But I think since I forgot my liquid glue, we're going to see if this will work. So I'm going to line up my Stampin' Seal across the edges, and it'll kind of adhere those two together, and then we can add it to the card. One across the middle. That worked pretty well. And then I didn't have to use the liquid glue, so I guess it's win-win, even though I always forget something. I thought that I would remember everything today, but I guess I was wrong. Okay, Laura, you haven't had a chance to use this set yet. Well, now you have a reason. You can copy these cards and you can make something with it. Okay, I have a little piece of white in here, and I'm going to pull in my flower stamp from the stamp set and my Moody Mauve ink. And we are going to stamp that on here like that. So pretty. And then I think while we are doing our stamping, I'll stamp my sentiment too. And I forgot to bring my measurements in here. So this is a piece of crumb cake for our sentiment. And let's see, it looks like it is 3 1/4 and I believe by 3/4. Yeah, 3 1/4 by 3/4 for our sentiment. And we're going to stamp this in early espresso ink. Brilliant, Joan. Are you talking about the Stampin' Seal? I have found lots of ways in the past to avoid using the green glue, so I should write a book, Ways to Avoid Using Green Glue. It would be a bestseller by other people who do not like the green glue. Okay, now I also realized I left my die cutting machine on the shelf, but that at least is in the same room, so let me grab that. And we are going to die cut this little flower because there is a die in the die set that does that. And whenever you don't have to fussy cut, that's always nice. So let's get that die out. And I'm going to move this so you can see. So this one you want to make sure you can kind of see both sides of the stem in there. And then it's lined up around the edge like that. And then we will put it through. Now I have seen a lot of people recently on their videos doing the die cutting first and then doing the stamping. And I don't know if they're doing that just for the sake of the video or if it's actually easier that way. So when you do your die cutting and your stamping, do you find that it is easier to die cut first and then stamp? I mean, if you're doing like a label, I will do stamping and then die cutting usually, but for little things like this, do you find it's easier to die cut first and then stamp? I don't know. I'm curious about that. So let me know in the comments if you die cut first or stamp first on little things like this. I don't know what's easier. Okay, I better get my card back in here so I remember what I'm doing. All right, so we're going to attach our flower first with some dimensionals. And obviously they won't fit on the stem, but that's going to get held down by the sentiment, so not a big deal. And just put that at a little angle right there. And then same thing, we're going to use that jute trim again. And let's see, I have one thread here. I think I want to use, well, maybe that is two. Let's see. There's just one there, I think. So I'll show you how I do this. So I want it to be big enough for a bow. So I'm just guessing, but you could tie a bow first and then cut it if you want. I've done that before too. So you could use it just like this, but like I said, I like it a little bit thinner. So I'm going to just pull out a few threads, and this time I did two, but you could do one again, or you could use the whole thing. Totally up to you. You stamp first and then die cut. Okay, that's what I've always done too. It just made me curious because I've seen lots of videos recently where they are die cutting first and then stamping, so I didn't know if I was missing something. So we'll see what everyone else who watches later says, if they agree with us or if we are doing it wrong. But Joan, since you said you do it the same way as me, then I think we must be right. Stamp first, then die cut. Okay, so again, I'm going to use a mini glue dot to hold this down underneath. Just kind of on the bottom of that stem. And I will probably trim these, but I'm going to leave them for now. And then we have our sentiment, and again, you want to put this on with dimensionals so it pops up over that thread. And you kind of arrange your ends so it doesn't get stuck under there, and you can kind of turn it how you want. We're just going to go over the bottom stem there, and you can decide if you want your sentiment. Mine's not exactly centered. I could maybe push it more that way, or you could center it. Totally up to you. And then I think I'll just trim these ends just a tad. There we go. And then, of course, we have to add embellishments because, I don't know, I think I rarely make a card that does not have some type of embellishment. Because embellishments are fun. And I think everyone else must think that too, because you want to know what a lot of our products that are out of stock right now, we don't have a ton, but the ones that are out of stock are embellishments because everybody loves them, I think. So there's our second card. This one is my favorite because I just love this color combination. If you stamp after, you ruin half. Yeah, I feel like I would do that too, but sometimes I ruin it when I die cut too, so I don't know which is worse. Probably the same. Okay, there's that one. Oh, sorry. I don't know why my husband's work phone is ringing. He's not even here, so, but I'm in his office. Okay, last card. I'm going to move this one out of the way. That was kind of distracting. Sometimes his work phone, he has like, I don't know how many phones and things from work in this office. They give him new stuff to test all the time, and there's like boxes and stacks of phone, although I have no room to talk because I have plenty of stuff in here too. Okay, our third card is another layout that you can copy with any designer series paper that you want. You could use different patterns from this pack. You could use patterns from a different pack. This one's very easy. So we have a crumb cake card base, 5.5 by 8.5. And this is another landscape card. And I forgot to bring my measurements in here again, but we're going to use our glass mat to double check because I think I know what I did. Okay, so this was actually one piece. If you look, well, I guess it matches on the other side, but this was one piece. I cut it 3 by 4 1/4, and then I just cut 1 inch off and flipped it over. So I used the same piece of the designer series paper, just both sides. And then I have a piece of white that is 1/8 inch larger. So it's 3 1/8 by 4 3/8. So now we just have to adhere our designer series paper. And again, you can do this with any designer series paper. I wanted to make a few more cards with different papers and show you, but I ran out of time, which is the story of my life. I do have to say though, I had all the cards for today designed yesterday, one day in advance. A lot of times I am designing the morning of, which would probably drive some of you crazy, but it drives me crazy too, to be honest, but that's the way life is. Okay, so for this one, we're going to use the basic beige bordered ribbon. And again, this is just a neutral ribbon. You could use some more of the jute twine if you wanted. You could use a white ribbon if you have one of the coordinating colors in the paper, like that wild wheat ribbon. That's out of stock too. That one shocked me because, I don't know, wild wheat is just not one of those colors you think would be popular, but actually I used that ribbon quite a bit last week, and I really liked it, so everyone else must too. Okay, so for this one I'm just tying a knot. You could do a bow if you wanted, but I'm just doing a knot. And you want to make sure to tie it around before you attach this piece to your card. Okay, so we're going to pop this up with dimensionals. And I got the idea for this layout from, oh, I don't know how to say her last name, but she's Stamp with Jamie. and I follow her on Instagram, and she did a card like this, actually with this suite. And so I don't know if my measurements are exactly the same as hers, but I thought this was a fun layout to use with any designer series paper. Weird wheat. Yeah, that's a good name for it. Okay, we'll probably be done using wild wheat pretty soon because I think it's a good fall color, but other than that, I don't think I have much use for it. Okay, we're stamping with Moody Mauve ink again, and we're using the third sentiment in the stamp set. And this, of course, is another die from the die set. And I really like this one because it's a good size. It fits a lot of different sentiments. And so this one can nest inside of this frame if you want, and you have a little extra space. So this one too actually cuts out two pieces. It cuts the frame and then it cuts the piece. So just like on the second card we did, you can nest them together, or you can do two separate colors, two separate papers, or you can put your frame around this. So lots of different layering options with these dies, and that's why I love them. Okay, so the sentiment we're going to pop up with dimensionals also. And then, of course, we will add some of our embellishments. So this one I just kind of tucked under the notch right there. Centered it. And then we're going to add a few of those textured dots on the bottom here. So I put one of the larger ones in the middle and then a smaller one on each side. You could do 3 large ones or 3 small ones. Whatever you want, or you could put them in a different spot. That is the great thing about crafting. Be creative and do it the way that you like. So there is our third card. All right, I'm going to put that one away in an envelope too. All right, and then we'll get my originals back in here. So remember, if you would like the card kit this week, you're going to shop with me now through Tuesday using the shopping link that I will post in the description. And if you spend more than $40 before tax and shipping, I will send you the card kit to make these 3 cards. If you spend more than $50, I will double the cards, so you get to make 2 of each. Now, I promised to show you my card club for this month. So the deadline for the card club is tomorrow, and I will put a link for that in the description also. But every month we do 8 cards with 2 of each of 4 designs. And this month I used the Wildly Flowering Suite. So I also used that wild wheat ribbon, and I was able to order enough for my current card club members when I saw it was on low inventory. And I think I have 1 more extra. So if more people sign up than that, I will probably substitute the basic beige ribbon, which is also on low inventory now, but still in stock. So this was the card I showed you earlier that I copied the design of for today. Here's this one. This is another flower stamp in the set, which is really pretty. This one is another simple design, but I kind of love these colors together, even the wild wheat. Even the wild wheat looks good on this one. And then this one, I used the embossing folder, so that's what it looks like. And I used that other frame die. Okay, so that's my card club. The card club is $44 a month. It is a subscription, but you can join or cancel anytime. You don't have to subscribe for a certain amount of time. The $44 includes the shipping, so you don't pay an extra shipping cost. It also includes product. So like in this one, you're going to get a half package of the designer series paper, a package of those textured dots, a roll of ribbon, and then all the cardstock pieces. And I organize these kind of the same way that I do my card kits. Thank you, Joan. I'm glad you love these. I don't know if you're talking about these or the cards from today, but thank you. So everything is cut for you except for the die cuts that are in the bundle I used. So like for this one, you get a piece of white cardstock, so you can die cut that. For this one, you would get the piece of wild wheat to cut the frame. And then, of course, you'd have the designer series paper. And you cut your own designer series paper too. So it's a little bit different than the card kits I offer during my weekly classes. You get to do a little bit more of the crafting and cutting yourself. Oh, yes, Laura, the first DSP you thought the wild wheat looked good with. You know what? I might have to agree with you on that. So anyways, I will post a link to that, and there is a little more information if you click through that link. It's a registration form. So you can read more about the club there, and you can sign up if you want, and then I will send you in your email a link to subscribe, because I can't put that out here. And that way you can read more about it too. But the deadline for this club is tomorrow. So if you are interested in that, make sure you check that out as soon as possible. All right, thank you so much for watching today. Next week I will be live again, and next week I'm going to share some of the scrapbooking products with you. We're still going to make cards, but we'll talk about the scrapbooking stuff too, so that'll be kind of fun. I have some to show you, and it's really neat. So I hope you will join me, and thank you so much for watching today. Have a great week. Bye.